The stock markets are absolutely chaotic right now, and investors are looking for anywhere they can put their money that offers some safety and some really good returns. The challenge is picking really high quality stocks that are going to make it out the other side of whatever turmoil comes and can present really, really solid returns in the long run. Here on the channel, we love to talk about Canadian investing, and I've been really focused on the Canadian energy sector, our oil and gas, because I think that right now there's a serious opportunity in that space. And I'm going to talk about a couple key companies that I think are undervalued gems in the Canadian oil and gas sector today. This video is going to be talking mainly about some stocks that I've talked about on the channel already, some stocks that I know pretty well, some stocks that I've done a lot of in-depth research on. And so this is by no means an exhaustive list, a comprehensive list of all of the really high quality Canadian stocks. It's just me reading off a couple of notes about some of the best opportunities that I really like based on what's happened to their stock price, based on what's happening in the markets, and based on how they're positioned to make it through whatever happens and to grow on the other side. Now, this also has to come with a caveat that there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on in the markets right now, that there's a lot of chaos, and by the time this video goes out, things might change. I'm filming this on a Sunday. By the time Monday rolls around, who knows? There could be massive changes. Maybe things are all back to normal and everybody says, just kidding, right? And these companies have their stock prices dramatically different than anything I say today. So just keep that in mind. Time changes and things are always in motion. And if you like this kind of content, if you're interested in talking about Canadian investing, please do subscribe to the channel because it makes a massive difference and it doesn't cost anything. So let's start. The first name on my list today is Cenovus Energy. Now, this company has been absolutely beaten down over the last little while and has been caught up really hard in all the tariff drama. And I've been really quite bullish on this company. However, I should point out that some investors have been a little unhappy with their management. I've seen it in the comments, even on these videos. Some people do not like the decisions that are being made. They think that this company has not unlocked the real value in their assets. And that is part of why I think their stock price right now is a huge opportunity. If they are able to unlock a little bit more of that value, if we can see that represented in the stock price, we could not only see them coming out of the other side of this drama, come out of the other side of these low oil prices, come out of the other side of this recession fears, or even come out of the other side of a real recession with extra cash, because they have a lot of assets that they could sell that are worth quite a bit, that could help them really, really capitalize on their high quality oil sands assets. I think that in the long run, there are two paths Cenovus can take, and that either of these paths could be incredibly profitable because they, like a lot of the high quality Canadian oil producers, have the ability to produce oil at a great price. They have some integrated infrastructure that they can then maybe continue to leverage, right? Maybe they can find a path forwards with it, or they can sell off and use that extra capital to either pay down debts more, to acquire more assets, so acquire literally more oil sands, or, pay higher dividends, maybe some share buybacks. Huge opportunity right now. The stock has been absolutely pummeled down. I don't know what it looks like on Monday when you're watching this, but it has been down double digits in the last couple of days as of the weekend, and it's just really tough. It's at the low end of the last 2 years, and I think they really do have a fantastic opportunity to make it up the other side. The second company I want to talk about today is Tourmaline Oil. These guys are my natural gas king. They are the scale player. They are the name brand in Canadian natural gas, and they are perfectly positioned for LNG Canada to come online. I've talked about the opportunity in LNG. Obviously, things are a little bit shaken right now, but I think there's a huge potential. We've seen a lot of talk about Canada's position in the world markets recently, and not to speculate too much, but I really think that Canada not being the United States right now gives companies like this a huge advantage. Because we're not the first mover, because like so many nations around the world, we are kind of holding on to the traditional rules-based trading order while things are being shaken up down south. I think there might be countries that are really, really interested in Canadian LNG as a more maybe stable supply, even if the pricing isn't quite as great as what the Americans can offer. And I think a company like Tourmaline could be perfectly positioned to take advantage. And obviously, I think natural gas is probably going to hold up better than crude oil over the next little bit. If we do see a recession, I think natural gas is probably in a better position just because of the demand for it, specifically in Asia. Now, obviously, if things go into a terrible recession, no commodity is going to be spared. But I think these guys are in a really great position. And think about some of the things that Tourmaline has done, right? They're in a position to buy back a huge amount of shares. They've talked about this. Well, look at the share price. I mean, as it drops, the cash they've got on hand, the cash they're able to generate looks fantastic. The share buybacks could be huge percentage of the company. And I think that potential, that opportunity is incredibly discounted right now. And I don't really understand why. They seem to be in a still really solid position with some really solid actual catalysts coming in 2025, regardless of what happens in the market. As scared as we all are of recession, these guys are clearly positioned to continue and to make it out the other side. The next company I'm going to talk about today, nobody should be surprised by this. It's Canadian Natural Resources. I have been hugely bullish on these guys because they are the biggest name. And while that means that their valuation is not quite as attractive as a lot of the smaller players we've mentioned, and as a lot of smaller players that we haven't talked about on the channel, it does mean they have scale, they have cash, and they have an advantage. They have that size that allows them to throw their weight around and to actually dominate these difficult times. Yes, their stock price is down significantly. Yes, I expect it to continue to go down if we see more recession fear, if we see more retaliatory tariffs, if we see more fear in the markets. But I think every time it drops, it's an opportunity. These are like the ideal name, I think. These guys, this company is the ideal name to be a dollar cost averaging. And stocks like this are in a great position. Every time you see the PE drop and you see, yeah, okay, growth numbers maybe don't look as great, but you see the kind of assets they've got. And you think about what the market looks like. You think about the twilight of shale oil. You think about where they're going to be in the next 5 years. Clearly, they are incredibly well positioned to navigate whatever happens. They have a huge amount of cash, and they are simply going to outlast any competitor because they will just continue buying great assets. And when money starts looking for real, solid, long-term oil assets, these guys are going to be sitting there with a treasure trove, and they're going to be asking a crazy price. And I cannot wait, not to mention the fact they're paying a fantastic dividend that is not being cut right now. It might be, sure. But as of right now, that's one of the best ways to get an enshrined return as part of owning the stock, right? You are going to get that dividend. So really, really interesting company, huge name. I really think they're worth a look. The final name on my list today is Enbridge. And this is one of those stocks I haven't talked a huge amount about on the channel. And that's a lot because they're not a producer. I was going to say a little, it's a lot. That's really why I haven't talked about them. That and the fact that, of course, there's all this talk about building more pipelines in Canada. And I'm not 100% certain what that will look like. And so I don't know how it'll impact Enbridge. But they are one of the very few companies that is actually just sitting on their laurels and does not care about the current climate. They don't care about the tariffs. They don't care about the fear. They don't care about the recession. They're just going to continue generating huge amounts of cash, paying a fantastic dividend. And it's really one of those really solid defensive stocks. I mean, we're seeing a dividend yield that could be over 7% in the next little bit. Like, that's fantastic. And of course, just the nature of that business is so defensive. It's so defensive that they don't really need to worry too much. Obviously, if we see like huge pipelines brought online that somehow really impact their business, okay, I could see an argument there. Or if we see some sort of crazy scheme to, whatever, force them to subsidize energy moving across the country, I don't know what could happen, right? If there's some sort of big political movement in Canada in regards to building new energy infrastructure that makes their infrastructure less valuable, yeah, that could hurt the company. But I think they're just going to sit there, continue to generate huge cash flows, continue to return huge amounts to shareholders, and shareholders are just going to be happy. So that's my list today. These are some undervalued Canadian energy stocks that I personally have looked into, that I understand, that I think are in a really good position. I want to say again, And I think this is important because people are scared right now. Do not try to time the market. As much as these are opportunities now, they could be an even better opportunity tomorrow. Again, I'm filming this on Sunday. It looks like the futures are not good. And so these stocks can be worth even less tomorrow, which means they're an even better opportunity. And it could continue for days, weeks, months, or years. That is why I am such a firm believer in the dollar cost average strategy. That's why I believe it is the best way to protect your portfolio, to get the best return, and to take advantage of market downturns. So I strongly recommend, if you're going to buy one of these names, please think about dollar cost averaging. It is the best way to put yourself in a solid position to win. And with all that being said, I think these are some really fantastic names that you should at least take a look at. Recommend you research. If you enjoyed this video, if you made it this far, please again, do subscribe to the channel, like the video. It makes a huge difference and it doesn't cost anything. And with all that being said, I hope I catch you in the next one.